Well, good morning. I'm coming to you on March 5th. Uh, Again, my thoughts on. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's not March 5th, it's March 6th. Again, my thoughts on the Ukrainian war. Um, I've been following reports, open source, and reports on the battlefield, and the Russians have not attained air superiority, much less air supremacy, which is mind boggling. They're losing a lot of aircraft. I think an open source, fairly credible open source, has noted that the Russians have lost 9 aircraft, including fighter and bombers and helicopters, ranging from the Sukhoi 34, very advanced aircraft, to a Hind 8, an older helicopter. Again, the weaponry and the stiff defense of the Ukrainians seems to be taking quite a toll on the Russians. And I asked myself, why are Russian casualties so high? Well, there's a variety of reasons. Again, poor logistics, falling morale, and the difficulty of offensive operations against an entrenched, determined foe, which is key. If you're going to take defensive positions, you're going to have to take significant casualties unless you can overwhelm them on basically 5-1. Now, I don't think the Russian forces have that kind of supremacy, nor do they have the logistics to bring it in very quickly. So this is going to go on. Again, I've seen reports that the Ukrainians have launched a counteroffensive near Kharkiv and have driven the Russians back to the border. That is significant. I'll try to follow that. In the south, of course, the Russians have made some advances, but even their, as I mentioned yesterday, they're claimed to have taken Kherson, and that's not really clear. They do have the nuclear plant, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. The name is familiar because of that painting of the response of the Zaporizhian Cossacks to the Turkish Sultan, defying the Turkish Sultan. So it has some historical bearing and some historical meaning to Ukrainians. Um, the the battlefield is not looking terribly bad for the Ukrainians, and it is looking dire for the Russians. The Russians have to win. The Ukrainians just have to hold on. The longer this goes, the more likely it is that you will have, video of Russian atrocities, dead children, and at some point, I think NATO may have to intervene. A no-fly zone would probably be the best outcome. I don't think Putin can answer that by attacking NATO. I think that would be suicidal for Putin. And I think that, even China has not, as I said, China has not really backed Putin. And I understand that they've terminated any oil transactions emanating from their, major bank in Singapore. That is, Chinese are not going to buy Russian gas and oil, or at least facilitate the transactions of Russian oil and gas to South Asia. That is significant. I think the Chinese, attempt to link up that major road with Western European states, or at least to Ukraine, and that has been an issue of contention since the Russians are attacking that infrastructure, and the Chinese are not very happy about that. And I think the nuclear option for Putin would be suicidal. He would be removed. He would be removed from power by sane Russians, and even the military, I think, would move against him if he tried to use tactical nuclear weapons. He knows what that means. Uh, and I don't think that that is an option. I think Putin is essentially bluffing, and I think NATO may have to call his bluff by establishing a no-fly zone at some point. So the longer this goes on, the more likely it is for NATO to intervene in a limited way. They are already providing aircraft to the Ukrainians through the Poles, and the Poles are probably already flying aircraft in the Ukraine using Ukrainian markings. I would very much doubt that the Poles are not engaged. They've welcomed the 1 million Ukrainian refugees. They have supported Ukraine against the Russians, and they have historical animosity towards the Russians. 1831, 1863, Polish revolts against the Russian Empire were crushed ruthlessly by the Russians. The Poles remember that. General Pilsudski, of course, defeated the Bolsheviks at the gates of Warsaw. And in the 1970s, the Russian tanks crushed a attempt by the Poles to break free. And of course, there was the movement that ultimately led to the Polish independence and breaking away from both the Soviet Union and the Warsaw Pact under the leadership of Pope John Paul II, and the Solidarity, the trade union. So Poles have a long history of opposing Russian attempts to dominate the region. Their identity as Roman Catholic identity was established in clear definition against the Russians, so that the Polish national character, their national identity, is based on an anti-Russian framework. So that the Poles are going to support the Ukrainians, and maybe doing so with aircraft, not only aircraft but pilots. I think that Putin will lose. It may be quite bloody and quite destructive, because I don't think he can give up. And I don't think the Ukrainians now will accept the Donbass region becoming independent and breaking away. So that's a major problem for Putin. Kharkiv, which is a Russian city, Russian-speaking city, has basically put up an incredibly stiff defense, and in fact has, if reports are correct, has staged a successful minor counteroffensive against Russian troops. That is significant. I don't think the support for Putin's invasion or by Russian areas is guaranteed. I don't think it's going to happen. So Putin has really misplayed this, and we'll see how it ends up. Now, I do think that American commentators, particularly on the Republican side, may be making quite a mistake if they continue to apologize for Putin. In fact, it may cost them seats in what I think will be a major Republican victory in November. I think the Republicans are likely to take the House and the Senate. But if they continue to appear as apologists, or at least their commentators appear as apologists for Vladimir Putin, I think they may be risking some seats in the midterm elections. And this is a problem. Now, on the other side, I do support the ramping up of American oil and gas to replace Russian oil and gas. And even those who oppose the ramping up of oil production in the United States, I think should support it, even as a temporary measure. We can debate the effect of this ramping up later once this crisis is solved. But now we need more oil and more gas, and the United States can produce it. Again, these are my views. Again, this is March 6th.